is just to give you an update on the 2020 census in Alabama from Governor Ivey and other key census leaders. This is a critical time for the census, with the deadline now extended to October 31st, and we continue to need your help as trusted voices in your communities. And before we get started, I wanted to go over a few quick housekeeping items. When you entered the meeting, you've been placed on mute by the Zoom host. Outside of the speakers for today, please remain on mute throughout the presentation. Speakers, when it is your turn, please remember to unmute yourself by clicking the button on your screen. We have a very limited time for this call, and we'll answer a few of the pre-submitted questions related to the census at the end of this call. Now, any other census-related questions can be submitted either via chat or via email to us after or during or after the presentation, but we will not be able to answer those until after this call. And we ask, since this is a census call, please limit your questions that you may submit to that topic. Finally, we'll send a summary of this call to those who have RSVP'd. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Kenneth Boswell, who is the Director of ADECA and the Chairman of the Alabama Counts Committee.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for all being on the call. Special thanks goes out to Alabama Press Association and the Alabama Broadcasters Association for them extending the invitation to everyone today. Now, I have the pleasure to be able to welcome Governor Kay Ivey. Would tell you that she has been an advocate from day one from the standpoint of the census.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Hello? All right. Let me say this, that she has been an advocate from day one.
I can see Ken. I cannot hear him.
She has been an advocate from day one from the standpoint of making sure that we participate at the highest level possible from the standpoint of the census, and she absolutely knows and understands what the census will mean over the next decade to the state of Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll now turn it over to Governor Kay Ivey to make comments. Governor.
Well, thank you, Director Boswell, and members of the media. Thank you so much for being on this call with us. This is a serious matter that we're undertaking. It benefits everybody in the state of Alabama. And the 2020 census is critical to the future of our state. And this has been made even more clear in the events that we've had with the coronavirus. It really brings home the importance of the $13 billion in federal funding that comes to the state each year, and the critical importance of maintaining our current level of congressional representation in Washington. At the state level right now, we are right at 59.8% participation, and that's tracking about 2 points behind the national average. And simply put, we can and must do better. To put it plainly, 60% just won't get it. Self-response at that level just will not cut the mustard. We remain at serious risk of losing representation and critical federal funding if we don't achieve maximum participation. And the results of our census will give us the results that we live with for the next 10 years. Low participation will reduce federal funding for education, free and reduced price school lunches, housing assistance, roads and infrastructure, and health care. Fortunately for all of us, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And we must continue doing everything we can to maximize participation among all Alabamians. Members of the media, as influential voices in our communities, you are vital to our efforts. And I need your help to regularly remind your readers and your viewers to spend 6 minutes answering the simple 10 questions on the 2020 census. We all win when the state achieves maximum participation. It's still time to self-report on the internet. Pull up the site my2020census.gov, or simply call 844-330-2020. Please get this message out to all of your viewers and readers, and I want to thank you in advance for helping us in this critical time for our state. We appreciate your involvement. Director Boswell?
Thank you, Governor Ivey. And ladies and gentlemen, the governor has just given a big picture overview of what the census means to the state of Alabama. As a quick summary, we began in March and made every effort to educate and encourage Alabamians to do their part in spending 6 minutes to ask 10 simple questions. Now, we all know that COVID-19 has overshadowed our efforts from that perspective. We are renewing our emphasis this summer and fall. We're making an even stronger push for the rest of the summer and into the fall because of what we do now. As the governor said, it will impact us for the next decade. We are actually working with Big Communications to have a more and newer approach from the standpoint of new messaging. We're going from the perspective of a more direct impact that the census has and the federal funds that are coming through from the standpoint of how it impacts families and individuals throughout the state. We're even trying to make it more personal from the standpoint of how it impacts us, but not only how it impacts us individually, but for our children and our grandchildren. For some of you that may have seen the WSFA and that has been helping us already, you've heard me relate to that several times from that perspective. Now, we have some key dates and events coming up. One would be August the 12th. We're working with the business community to drop everything and be counted. We're partnering with those organizations and businesses for a statewide day of action where businesses will allow employees to complete their census at work. In mid-August, census workers plan to follow up with the households who have not responded, and Marilyn Stevens will speak to this shortly. September, we will be introducing the census, or Alabama Census Bowl, for those counties that are participating at a low rate. We are actually working with the school systems, and we are developing those rules as we speak to be able to introduce those, and we hope you will help us get that out and to help create that excitement and competition between the schools of being able to get those parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents to participate in the census that have not already done so. October 31st will be the last day of that the census will be able to be completed. As the governor said earlier, you are the key to our success at this particular moment. You are a trusted personality throughout your communities and across the state, and would just ask that you continually keep this in some way, shape, form, or fashion in front of the communities that you air your broadcast to, whether it be from local mayors, commissioners, whether it be individuals on the street, and how it impacts those individuals would be very helpful. We ask that you continue to help us in every way, shape, form, or fashion, because as Governor Ivey said, this does have an impact on us for the next decade. And I don't even want to imagine losing any of those billions of dollars coming into the state. And not only that, but the representation that we have the chance of losing, possibly one, or right now we would lose one, if not two. So would ask that you keep that in the forefront of your messaging in your newscast. And now I'll turn it over to Marilyn Stevens for her comments. Marilyn.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Governor Ivey and Ken, for inviting me to once again to stand on the podium with you for Alabama Counts. On March 12th, when I stood in the Capitol with the governor and with you, Ken, and other members of the Alabama Complete Count Committee, we talked about that March 12th was the first day that the Census Bureau would be mailing invitations to every household. And here we are today on July 21st. Alabama leads our 7 southern states in response rate, and we're happy about that. 13 Alabama counties are above the national response rate that is at 62%. Shelby County has been a standout nationwide with a response rate of more than 73%, and congratulations. But we still have a lot of work to do. The work is for those households who have yet to respond to the census. I'm asked every hour of every day, when is the deadline? And Ken just outlined the timeline. But today, the day is the deadline for you to complete. We want everyone to stop what you're doing, go to your computers, your smartphones, or go to the telephone and call our toll-free number, or dig out that paper questionnaire that we sent to you that the children and the dog conspired to put in the recycle bin, and fill it out and mail it back. Whatever way you choose to respond, today is the day to respond because time is running out. On April the 11th, we will start to knock on doors. But we want you and your household to avoid the knock. People ask, what can we do to ensure the safety of all of the residents in the state of Alabama? One of the ways that you can do that is to avoid the knock. Complete your questionnaire online, by phone, or by mail so that we don't have to come to your door. Our enumerators are trained to make sure that they have their masks on. They cannot come inside. They must ask you to come outside to conduct the interview in an open space, preferably where it's very well ventilated. They will have a picture identification. They will have their other census equipment with them. When they come to the door, their reason for being there is to conduct the interview. But you still have time before we start knocking on the doors on August the 11th. You still have time. You know what's important to you. The census is important. We've outlined those programs. The census is easy because for the first time in history, you have 3 ways to self-respond. And the census is safe because 2 laws ensure that your census information is protected. Now is the time to act. On tomorrow, the Atlanta region of the U.S. Census Bureau will be rolling out another campaign, and we're calling it Push Alabama for the next 10 days. We'll be asking all of you to make your own posters, take a picture and post it on your social media and use the hashtag pound 2020 census push AL. Pound 2020 census push AL. And on that poster, say why the census is important to you and your family. Or say why you are participating in the census. And say why you are encouraging other Alabamians to participate in the census. Remember, my message today is avoid the knock. Avoid the knock. Self-respond today. Why? Because Alabama counts for representation. Alabama counts for resources. Alabama counts to every program that is important to every family in the state of Alabama. Now is the time to act. Respond today.
All right, I'll turn it over to Mike now from that perspective with the media questions
Okay.
that has been submitted. So Mike.
All right, thank you, Director. So we have 4 total questions today that have been submitted, and before each one, I will direct it to the appropriate speaker to respond. The first one is for Director Boswell. What specific outreach methods are being used today to reach residents in the counties with less than 50% response rate?
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, in the spring and early summer, we used a combination of methods. Advertising, whether it be TV, radio, newspaper, online, or social media, and phone banking. Several of these areas are covered by local and regional organizations. Governor Ivey has held a conference call with the county municipal leaders that had low participation rates in their counties. And ADECA has held several individual and group conference calls with leaders in several of these counties. Now, what are we currently doing? And this is where I think you will not only play a role as far as helping us to get the word out through your media sites, but peer-to-peer texting. We ask that you help us with that. We are now sending census kits with the yard signs, posters, information sheets, and other items to those 20 counties that are participating at a low rate. These counties will be eligible for Alabama Census Bowl competition. As I said earlier, we'll be providing that information and the rules and regs on that here shortly. Continued outreach with local leaders and community groups, one-on-one calls, letters, conference calls. Continue outreach with local media in those areas. I'll make myself available to anyone, anytime, and we've been currently doing that. But I encourage you that you let Mike know, and we'll be happy to engage from the standpoint of interviews. Hoping to get out on the road if this COVID-19 will allow it, to be able to interface with local leaders as well as in communities. And also the Census Bureau is looking at the potential of advertising, as Marilyn said earlier, in these low participation areas in late summer, early fall. Mike.
Thank you. So the next question is also for Director Boswell from Auburn. So it says, it appears Lee County and Auburn seem to be behind the state's average for the census. Why do you think that is, and how can that be improved?
Well, Lee County right now is at 58.9%, and Auburn is at 55.5%. And it's really hard to pinpoint one reason, but apathy has always been something we're fighting against with the census. Also, the large student population of Auburn University could be playing a role. Auburn University is responsible for working with the Census Bureau to report a group count of students who lived in the dorms and other universities' housing last spring. Now, but the one key thing to this could be that these students that don't live on campus, that are living in housing, whether it's rented or leased housing, may not have participated. And we would encourage those students that are living off campus to please participate. We also have worked with Auburn and other state universities to communicate that message to all of their students.
Director, the next question is for Governor Ivey. How do the door-to-door follow-ups, which will begin on August 11th, how will those follow-ups impact the census in your view?
Well, the census workers going door to door serve a very important role in reminding and encouraging those households that have not responded to do so. And they'll make that really easy to do face to face. Because the self-participation rate only counts those who've responded on their own, the census takers' role, starting in mid-August, will help increase overall final participation rate, along with the group quarters count of college dorms, nursing homes, correctional facilities, etc. For example, Alabama's final self-response rate in 2010 was 62.5%, But when you add in the forms completed by census takers and group quarters, the percentage increased to a 72% final participation rate in 2010. With that being said, the easiest way to avoid a knock at your door in mid-August is to go ahead and complete your census online at my2020census.gov or on the telephone at 1-844-330-2020 or simply by mailing in your paper form.
Thank you, Governor Ivey. So for the last question will be directed to Marilyn Stevens. As door-to-door follow-ups begin, what can citizens expect and what precautions are workers taking to ensure safety while conducting the follow-ups?
First of all, our safety and security division, the Census Bureau, will be sending to law enforcement agencies across Alabama and other states to let them know when our staff will go to the field to help keep our staff safe. Our staff in their training are being trained to properly put on and remove their masks because they are mandatory when they're in the field. They will make a knock at the door and step back and ask to identify themselves and then ask the householders to come outside so they can conduct the interview. Now, if the householder says, I'd rather do it myself, they will still have the option to go online at my2020census.gov or call the toll-free number at 1-844-330-2020. But the enumerator's responsibility and role is to conduct the interview. So if the person says, no, I'm going to do it myself, and the enumerator leaves, as long as that address is on our list, we will come back. That enumerator will have a photo identification, and all of their equipment from their cell phone to their laptop to their bag will identify them as census workers. They are there to conduct the interview. They are not there to take the person says, I have my paper questionnaire, I filled it out, can you take it? The answer is no. They're not there to say, can you help me online? And that answer is no. We have people, you can call the toll-free number and conduct the interview by phone or ask any questions that you have to get assistance and online. That enumerator's responsibility is to conduct the interview. And remember, we hire indigenous. So the people knocking on the door are really our people that are from the state of Alabama.
Thank you, Marilyn. And let me close from the chairman's position as well as director of ADECA. And on behalf of Governor Ivey, we really do need your help and would tell you what you have done is we're very grateful for. But what you're going to do to help us bring attention to this, it will be beyond measure. So we thank you in advance for what's going to occur, and know that we stand here at ADECA ready to provide you with the information that you need to help us. So again, thank you for being part of this call today and part of this summit, and we certainly appreciate what you do. Thank you so much. Mike?
Okay. Again, just want to thank our speakers today and thank you all for joining us. As a reminder, this session was recorded and we plan to send a link to it to those who RSVP'd, so you can go back and watch it again if you want to, or share it with others. Also, as a reminder, as the director just mentioned, he is available for census interviews and we're available to answer questions. And we are happy to assist in any way we can. For any follow-up questions or to schedule a one-on-one interview with the director for your publication or station, please contact Chandler Thornton, our coordinator at Big Communications. I work very closely with her with the director's schedule, and if you send an email. Her address is on the screen right now, chandler@bigcom.com. If you contact her, she will work with us and we will get you what you need in a timely fashion. Again, thank you. Look forward to talking with you individually over the next few months, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.